True Talk, a podcast from True Land Equipment, where community, farming, and John Deere technology collide.
What's new in agriculture? What's happening in your neighborhood? And most importantly, who are the people that make it all happen?
True Talk, cultivating true conversations. Welcome back to the True Talk podcast, recording live in
Napoleon today.
Napoleon, Ohio.
Correct. Yeah,
Right.
Napoleon. What podcast was it? It was our tech roundtable with Tyler Thomas, who is from the Napoleon store. He goes,
Right.
Is there a Napoleon, Indiana? I didn't do my homework and check.
I didn't either, but no, welcome here. This is my first, full disclosure, first visit to the Napoleon store today. So
Yes, and in a roundabout way, it's my first visit as well, because when I visited the last time I was here, I visited Jolene Nissen, someone else on our Precision Ag team. She was actually in a building across the road from the actual store we're sitting in today because
they needed some space, didn't they?
They need some space.
They were desperate for space.
They were building, and so that's what we're here today, Josh. We're talking about Napoleon's new store, the renovations they've undergone the past 18 months, and so we're gonna meet today with people from our counterparts in sales, service, and get kind of a glimpse into where they were at and the process it's been to get this building up. And what they're looking
sorely
for.
Needed building, obviously. And I think keeping along the theme with our last podcast where we just kind of talked about one of the building projects in our other store, now we're going to get kind of the employee perspective of how their jobs have been a little bit easier and better and how they've been able to serve the customer better in this new facility. So kind of getting a little bit of a different angle on a new building project. So going to be an interesting day and fun day. We've got some, like you said, some employees and coworkers of ours that actually get to experience that process and work out of this facility. And then we'll get kind of a historical perspective as well from someone who's been around here a while. So
excited to get a nice glimpse around the entire dealership, not just one department.
Right. Going to be a fun day with a whole lot of first-time guests today. So
that's right.
We'll get it started here.
All right, we're back here with our first guest. So we have Joe Eberly here, our location lead, and Kyle, one of our service techs here out of the Napoleon store. So I won't do a whole lot of introducing. I'll let you guys kind of introduce yourself. So if you guys want to give us a quick rundown of, I know I introduced who you are, but who you are, what you do, kind of maybe a little history.
How long you've been here.
Yeah, how long you've been here, stuff like that.
Sure. I'm Joe Eberly. I'm the store manager, store lead here at Napoleon. I started back here in 1993, so it's been 33 years ago. And I started initially as a parts department counter person. I held that role for about 8 years, then took over a service manager position when the service manager retired. Held that role for 12 years here at Napoleon. After that, I moved over to the Archibald, Ohio location, and I had various roles there and ended up becoming a salesman in 2015. And then September of 2024 was asked to come back over and take over the spot at Napoleon.
Okay.
Interesting. So you've got to see the dealership through all kinds of different
lenses.
Parts, sales, service.
How many years is that total?
33.
33. Yeah. And
33.
I did, because you were coming up on an anniversary this month, correct?
Yeah, it was March 1st.
Okay, so it was the very first of the month.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, congratulations for that.
Impressive, yeah.
Well,
That's
thank you.
very impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had 4 different names on my shirts over the years.
Right?
Yeah. So he's one more than me in that regard. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So we also have Kyle. You want to introduce yourself, what you do, and how long you've been here?
Yeah, Kyle Rosebrook. Started here in 2009. Service technician the whole time.
Napoleon the whole time?
Napoleon the whole time.
Okay.
So are you primarily on the road, or do you work in the shop?
Right now, primarily on the road, but when I started, was in the shop. Joe was my first service manager.
Yeah, and you guys were best buds back in the day.
I tried to fire him 20 times.
That's like twice a year.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. So obviously we're here to talk about the store and the improvements, the building addition and things like that, and just to get perspective on really from a variety of people on where we've come from and how there's been a change for you guys, how it's made your guys' jobs easier, maybe how this business function easier in this location. Because the reality is we have a lot of stores and a lot of different building styles in a lot of stores. We decided today that this is a unique building in its own right compared to some of our other builds. And so I think it's important also, not only that, but also how it's going to help you serve the customers better. So who's got the first thought today on that?
So I guess what was the primary need? I mean, obviously expansion, but what was the pain point that pushed you to have a new building?
Kyle, I think I can hand that one to you.
Yeah.
Just the influx of customers and the employees we gained too in the past 3 years now.
Yeah. And I mean,
We went from 6 technicians out in the shop, basically probably at our lowest point to probably at our highest point, 19. Wow. And then with them technicians brought the same amount of influx of customers. So we needed to do something here.
Yeah. So you had a shop that 6 techs could fit in with plenty of room, right? And now you got room for 20 techs.
Yep. Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, and our territory has expanded so greatly, and we have guys, road techs going 2 hours to jobs. Just traveling a lot of miles,
which is insane. Because me being from the cold water store, we kind of we're not in the same boat, but we do stretch pretty far south, further south than some stores would think. Like just Monday, I was driving basically an hour south to take care of a customer. So not quite 2 hours, but still getting out there. I guess what out of that like 19 techs, how many people are actually in the shop versus on the road? Is it kind of a 50-50 split? Or?
It's almost 50-50. Yep. Okay. As far, because there are even guys here in the shop right now, they're driving a truck to be available for calls. And so it's probably about half.
Gotcha.
Okay. Wow. That's a significant increase.
That's a huge number.
That's
I was going to say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So
I think there's somewhere close to high 30s or almost 40 employees at the store now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and what was it 15 years ago?
Half that, less than half of that.
No kidding.
So we had a need.
Yeah.
Significant
definite need.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that happened, you said, in like maybe the past 3 years, Kyle?
Yeah, it was about 3 years ago, I think.
Okay.
Yep.
So talk about it then. Okay, you're a road tech, but I'm guessing you've spent some time in the shop as well, again, on times when you're not out and about. So how has your day become easier with this space now already?
Just what you said, the space. Sometimes not having to fight to bring 3 pieces of equipment in kind of at the same time. We have the room, we have the overhead doors to be able to work on multiple things at once and not really bug the guy next to you to move his piece of equipment. That and just kind of the setup of the store too, where the offices are at and that kind of thing. And how we do our parts now too is different than what we used to as far as for us technicians. We have 2 designated parts guys just for us technicians to where we really don't got to bug the counter people when they're taking care of customers and that sort of thing.
That's interesting you say that, because I guess I haven't paid super close attention to how that works at other stores, but you mentioned it. That's the same way it is at Coldwater. We actually have a handful or 1 or 2 people that are kind of designated to help bring parts back and forth to technicians in the shop. Makes sense.
Well, they always say that your service department is your biggest parts customer. Is that true?
That's true.
Yeah.
Definitely true. We've said that for years.
Yeah. So having the ability and the structure to handle that flow of business in an efficient way has got to make a big difference.
Yeah, and as far as, what we've seen with this construction and expansions, it's the biggest thing this dealership's ever seen, and it's been crazy. There's been some growing pains, obviously, and some disruptions. The parts department's a fairly major disruption right now until it's completed, which should be in the next month or so. It should be complete, so that'll smooth things out a lot.
I guess maybe that should have been a disclosure. The store, like you said, is not completely, totally finished, right? So you mentioned what is left to be done.
The remodeling what was our old showroom and office space into expanded showroom and parts space now. Yep. So that's kind of about halfway done at this point.
And so rough estimate of completion is, say, May?
Middle of April.
Okay.
Yep. Just in time.
Yeah.
For busy season, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that's why I know, Josh, we kind of got that timeline, and we looked at our calendar and said, trying to record a podcast in April, May, when you guys just opened up, is probably not going to be a good idea. So we had to kind of get ahead of it a little bit.
Chaos.
Yeah.
I just keep thinking about the redoing the kitchen at home. That's kind of like what the situation you guys are in with your parts department, right? You just got you're on survival mode, making it work. And
for sure.
Doing dishes in the bathtub.
Right.
Till we get things going.
Where do we put this? Put it right there for now.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. It'll seem like a completely different world at that point. So obviously doing it in stages and the important, one of the main important parts is we got a functional shop and a very, very large, nice functional shop that's really full of equipment right now.
That was a primary concern, get the shop up and running as quickly as we could.
There's a bunch of tractors out there.
I was going to say, that was one thing. Yeah, we looked at just today. It was, packed. So I think the other thing we mentioned was parts, right? So you guys, with this expansion, you're going to have room for more parts, right?
Yes.
Is there? I would heard there was going to be kind of like a parts warehouse that's getting up and running almost in a sense instead of a parts building. I call it a warehouse. Maybe it's not quite that scale, but
Our old shop is going to be considered the parts warehouse. Now, it's unclear whether we'll stock more or parts for other stores or anything like that yet, but it'll make what we have a lot more convenient and condensed and easier to get to.
yeah, like you said, as your territory expands, I mean, you may not always be working on their equipment, but they're probably coming to you for parts more often too, right?
Yes, and we've also have parts drops.
Yeah, yep, that's something I was going to say. Cold water has been running as a parts drop, so I mean, we have to have the room for the parts if we're going to run a parts drop. So.
Right.
Fantastic. So can you talk a little bit about your perspective just on the customer side of this, how we can serve those customers better overall in this facility?
Well, with a big part of that is our road techs. We've got fantastic guys on the road, and they're on the road all the time. A few of them rarely ever check into the store at all. They can service customers well, and it's going well. Also, our parts drops, like I said, to serve the customers because some are quite a ways away. So we have multiple parts drops where multiple customers will share the same area or the same parts drop and can pick up their parts. We run that route nearly every day, so it's good. It works out well, and with the expanded shop, we can get more equipment in here, get things done in a timely manner. The overhead cranes help out tremendously at speeding up the jobs. It's been really good.
I wouldn't have even thought about that. Yeah, having more crane space up above to
definitely
do bigger jobs like that. Yeah, that's got to be big.
It just sounds like we're building a really nice big foundation here to help support those as a support system for a lot of the stuff that's going on in here and then also on the road. So
yes, for sure,
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I was say any other parting thoughts, you guys? Anything else cool and exciting about the new building?
I'm just excited to see where this will go. Because once we're all done, once we're all organized, things are running smoothly. It's a very, very exciting time for this company, for Truland and for Napoleon specifically.
It's going to be fantastic.
I would agree.
Right in the middle of the heat of the planting season too.
Yep.
So.
Well,
looking forward to it.
It's got to happen sometime, right?
Yep,
for sure.
Right. Hey, thanks for jumping on with us, you guys.
Yeah.
No problem. Thank you guys.
All right, welcome back. We got another set of very special guests this time.
Did you hear that? Very
unique,
special.
Very special. Yeah,
I feel very special.
Yeah, well, I think not to tarnish our other guests, but definitely make the podcast a very unique podcast. So I'm gonna let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves. So, when do you want to go ahead?
Well, I'm Denny Bachman. Was a previous store lead here, and then I retired full-time back in March of 2024.
Congratulations.
2025. And then turned the reins over to Joe to be the store lead.
Gotcha. So you're semi-retired still, or?
I am semi-retired. I stayed on. Tom Baranga had asked me to stay on as a part-time basis to oversee the construction of the new expansion that we did here at Napoleon.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's got a great radio voice.
Yeah, no kidding. I feel like a lot of our guests do.
More than us, right?
And currently, what I did when the expansion started, we basically worked with all the division or department managers to see what they would like to see in the new expansion, and we work with them through the construction and to kind of put it all together. And then after I was done with that in December 31st of 25, I decided that, hey, maybe I ought to just step back and let the department areas finish the job, what they want to see inside. But the outside was pretty well done.
Yeah.
Well, I
Awesome.
appreciate hearing that because we just did a podcast with a building company for one of our other locations, and he talked about that process of basically sitting down. Their analogy was sitting down with a napkin and starting and with ideas what's everybody need and expands, and then we decide what we can live with and what we can live without. So you were part of that process.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome.
Right.
It's probably pretty enjoyable.
Yes, it was very enjoyable to see this whole thing come together with the amount of years I had here with the dealership, starting with the Harry Von Deelen Company back in full-time in 1973, and moving from that building that we had in Gerald, Ohio, to the new location here, in which we built this in 1976 originally.
Okay.
Wow.
And I wanted to make sure that Tom Von Deelen was included in this podcast because he is the history, and it was with his family that I actually worked with. Actually, 3 generations of the Von Deelens when I started.
I was going to say that might be a good segue
Great
to introduce our other guest.
I'm Tom Von Deelen. My family is the family that built this facility here. That was my grandfather and my dad were the owners at that time. That was in 1976, as Denny said. I became an owner in 81. This place has grown a lot.
Yeah, no kidding. I was going to say it's quite the change from 76, right?
Yeah. And so Denny talked about the business in Gerald. My great grandfather actually was a blacksmith, and he started it. And we've always considered our business have started in 1915. That's when my great grandfather started selling Waterloo Boy.
Okay. No kidding.
So, then in I think it was 1924, he started selling John Deere. My great grandfather passed away in 1993, and then either late 93 or late 1993 or 1934, my grandfather became the owner. He was Harry Von Deelen, which that was the name of the place for years. It was first just Harry Von Deelen, and then my dad got involved, and it was Harry Von Deelen and Son. And then in 1959, they incorporated, and it became Harry Von Deelen Company at that time.
Okay.
And so
it's amazing.
That's some really deep roots. That's amazing to hear.
Right.
So you said 1915 was when you guys like to consider it was the family business started.
That's when he first started selling Waterloo Boys. So that's kind of when we've considered the family business starting.
So you've always sold John Deere equipment then, more or less, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so you said you jumped in 1981. I mean, we can go back as far as we need to, I guess.
Yep.
But so at that point, were you guys at this location?
We moved here in 76. I see all the parts getting moved around here. Joe Eberly took me on a tour, and I see all the parts, and my grandfather and I put most, if not all, of the parts into the bins here when we moved from Gerald. Back then, everything was on cards, so you wrote the numbers on cards. And we went from little small 3x5 cards to 5x10 cards, I think they were.
Oh, wow.
So myself and my wife and my mother and the partsmen rewrote all the part numbers on all the cards and put them in these bins. And then my grandfather and I matched the old cards to the new cards and put them in bins and wrote the new bin number on the new cards.
And how long did that take you?
I don't remember, but we were lucky that year. We moved in November, and it was an early harvest. So my grandfather and I spent all our days here and some evenings here just trying to get it done so that when we moved, all the parts were here.
Okay.
That's impressive. That's crazy to hear.
I just love hearing that perspective.
Yeah.
We're obviously a pretty big company these days, so we've had these conversations with a variety of people that have been
through the transitions.
Yeah, through transitions like that. So that's kind of another angle that we hadn't heard yet.
Yeah.
No.
Moving to computers was such a big deal for us, and that's all it is now anymore.
Right.
We did microfiche in between there before we went to computers. So it was.
That's pretty impressive. So 1981. So just kind of describe the facility back then to you. Like what was the facility like when you guys first moved here?
Well, we had a little over an acre in Gerald, and we moved here and had 6 acres. And we thought, wow, we've really
hit it big.
We've hit it big time here. And then in 1988, we built on a part storage bin or a building out back. And then my dad was still considered the dealer principal. Had to think about that for a little bit. Mm-hmm. He was still considered the dealer principal, although he was not here very much. I was here basically the manager. And I told my John Deere territory man at that time, I want to expand, but I don't want to expand the service shop unless I'm the dealer principal and know that I'm considered long-term. So I had to do the thing that I had to do. And so in 1998, we added on to what was the service shop up until about 6 weeks ago or something like that.
Right. So you already kind of answered my question. I was going to say, when you first moved here and you got that 6 acres, were you under the impression this is it? 6 acres, that's plenty. We won't need to expand again.
I didn't think we'd ever have to expand, and I never thought I'd see anything like this expansion I see here now.
Yeah.
You obviously saw a change in equipment in that time too, and sizes and things like that. And
I still have some John Deere Day tapes that are talking about the new Easy Ride seats on the A tractors. It went to a cushion seat instead of the oyster metal seat, and and you could go from a 2-row planter. Now they have a 4-row planter, and you can get twice as much work done with the 4-row planter.
That is so cool to hear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes we joke that sometimes progress is necessary. Sometimes it's painful too, right? But that 4-row planter is now what a
relic.
We have an 80-foot planter, right? At least, if not bigger now these days. So who would have thought we'd be at that point? But your perspective on this facility and maybe a legacy, looking back at a legacy for you of where it's at now compared to what you started.
Yeah, it's still nostalgic to come back here. And I know when Joe took me on the tour, I walked through a room and it said, "Is that where the parts department used to be?" And Joe would say, "Well, that door takes you back to the service shop." And you walk through and there's the restrooms. And I probably wouldn't have been able to find the restrooms here without him helping me find them. It's just changed that much. And Joe had sent a picture of the construction of our old showroom, completely empty, and I showed it to my wife, and she couldn't even figure out where it was, except the pop machine was sitting against the wall in the same place it's been since 1976.
Yeah, trying to find the puzzle pieces back together, trying to figure out where it was. I guess, Denny, on the same kind of token, kind of looking back, because you had been at the store for a while as well, right?
Yes, I was.
So how has this transition been for you in the new store? And
This transition is just unbelievable. We were fortunate enough to expand the way we did, bringing in all this trained help from another location, another John Deere dealer that decided they wanted to work for, at that time, the Kinfeld Group. And just going forward, we knew we had at that time to add a bunch of service trucks because we did not have the room here to adapt to everybody. And the expansion was necessary because of all the customers and the great talent that we were able to hire. So it just is amazing how much it has changed. I was talking the other day, thinking about the old store when I started. It was actually in the fall, as early placement through vocational school. I'd taken agricultural mechanics. And I still think about that was early fall of 1972 when I started on a part-time basis until graduation. Then I was hired full-time. And I remember when I first started, to the west of the building, we had a grass area that we could park equipment. And there was a new 40-20 setting there and a new 30-20 setting there. Cool. So nostalgic-wise, it's just kind of neat to think about all the changes. Our old shop, we couldn't even fit a combine inside. It wouldn't fit.
Right.
But we were, when I first started then, I'd set up the last 1250 planter, if anybody remembers that, and the first 7,000 planter. And then the new 3,300, 4,400, 6,600, 7,700 combines were rolling in. Yeah. So that was pretty amazing. And then to see the Von Dielen commitment that we got a new place in 1976. And when we first saw that place, I thought, there is no way we're going to outgrow this, of course, looking at short term. And it was just amazing how much it had expanded, even when the Von Dielens owned it. And they were a very well-respected company in the area, so it made the job of being the mechanic to support it or working in the parts that I did or sales because of the legacy that the Von Dielens had built at that time. So, and the expansion is all part of that as well, the legacy that was started.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really important to mention because it speaks mostly or a lot for the service side, right? You said it makes it easy to be a service, but it also makes it easy to be a salesperson. I mean, if the name of the company you work for is highly respected, they're going to come respecting you already a little bit more just because of that name that you're representing. So I think that speaks volumes too. And I guess I would ask, do you think that through the transition, you said through the Kinfeld Group and then through Truland now holding up that legacy still, right?
Yes, I believe it holds a legacy very well because we not only gained new customers, but we retained the old ones that we had all those years that built the original business to what it was.
Yeah.
I think it's a testament to a lot of things. I think it's a testament to, obviously, your family and the Von Dalen family and starting this and building this legacy. And then, obviously, you've got legacy here as well, Denny, and also a legacy of John Deere for, again, the needs for the expansion, right? And the quality of the equipment getting bigger. And obviously, you guys all building your customer base. And I know we've talked about how that kind of evolved. And it's a good problem to have. To need space.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. It's definitely a good problem when the doors on the shop aren't big enough to fit equipment in it, right?
Right. So
we've even gone as far on the new building that we can actually in the new display area, put an overhead door in so we can get the compact utilities and possibly even a skid steer on a showroom if we so desired.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we had no showroom here towards last because of all the products we had on the shelf and that. So that's going to be a welcome area. Let the customers see what we have sitting inside rather than be out in the weather that we had. So
Understandable.
Yeah.
So.
So I kind of on that same topic, is there anything, you guys have already talked a decent bit about it, but in particular about this new store that really gets you guys excited? I mean, we talked with Service before already. Shop space was really exciting for them, obviously. But for you guys looking at the new store, what gets you guys really excited about the new building?
I don't know that I'm excited so much as I just wonder what my dad and my grandfather would say if they could see what's going on here, because we thought we had it all when we first moved here, and it's the addition is bigger than what we had in the first place. So it's pretty amazing.
Should tell you where we've come, right?
Exactly.
what excites me is to know that we have the room to make sure all the mechanics, servicemen have room to work inside. We've made the commitment to have enough room to store all the parts that they require on a daily basis. So that excites me that we're taking care of the employee with this expansion.
It's fantastic. Well, great job, both of you. Obviously, you've got a legacy here, too, again, with the Von Dalen family, and set all this in motion. And Denny, obviously, with the history here and helping oversee this project. So, guys both played a big part, and great job, obviously. And it's a great mark for True Lane Equipment, too.
I would agree.
I can still remember setting up 33 and 4,400 combines at the old shop with Denny.
Yeah, almost like a reunion with us today.
Yeah, well, that's awesome
Yeah.
to do that with you
Yeah.
guys.
So, I think they'd probably let you do that again if you wanted to.
I don't think I want to.
Hey, thanks a bunch for jumping on with us.
Thanks
You're
for being on,
welcome,
guys.
Welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we're back with our final group of guests. We actually have a repeat guest just because of the unique situation that guest is on. So we have Joe back, but we also have Scott Gherkin on. Go ahead, Scott, if you want to introduce yourself.
All right, Scott Gherkin. I'm a salesman currently out of the Archibald store, but my career with John Deere dealership actually started back in 1986 with Harry Von Dalen Company. Started fresh out of high school, but I remember as a child walking past the dealership in Gerald and stopped every day just to see the toys or see what equipment came in. I lived within half a mile of Harry Von Dalen Company. Harry, actually, and Bill and Tom, Bill's son, who we just talked to a little bit ago, is actually married to my oldest sister.
Wow.
So that's my in into the dealership organization was Tom came to me shortly after I graduated and said, "Hey, if you're looking for something to do, we could use your help." He brought me in to the dealership. Basically, that's been my life's work, is to work for a John Deere dealership.
By my elementary math, you've been here 40 years.
Close. I did leave for a couple of years in the middle there for a little bit. You try to find your way, but found my way back as well. So started in the parts department in 1986.
Here, in this location?
In this location. Tom's mother passed away. Tom kind of took a change of position he was the parts manager at that time. He took over the bookkeeping side that his mother did. That's when I took over the parts department in 92. And I think, Joe, you joined
93.
93.
Oh, wow.
So
93.
A couple more legacy people, really.
Right.
Joe and I spent a lot of time together.
A lot of time. Scott and I go way back. I was at his bachelor party.
You got to tell us a story about that night.
I really don't need to tell a story about that. But no, we go way back, and we had a lot of fun in the parts department. And there was a few other key people with us too. That a gentleman named Harold worked with us for a long time. He was an older bachelor, and we had a lot of fun with him.
Look at them. You
Enough to be said about that.
You can't see it. They're giving them looks across the room.
It's been a day of reminiscing here. Some of it on the mic, some of it off the mic.
Right.
Obviously, parts is an area we haven't really covered yet, but I want to get a little perspective from you, Scott. Just again, I've used the word legacy with the last several guests. I'll use it with you guys too, because I think you guys are all legacy people. If you've been here that long, give me your thoughts on the facility and looking back and where it's at right now and kind of what it means to you and serving our customers.
I'll jump in here real quick. I think both Scott and I still have part numbers rolling around in our head that's taking up valuable space.
Well, Scott, right before we got on, Scott read out a part number, and I go, I know that's a real number that he just kind of rambled out. It was a real one.
It is. We
Yes.
still sell it today.
Yeah.
No, Joe and I worked side by side for a lot of years in the parts department. Tom talked about moving from the 3x5 cards to the 5x10 or whatever he called them. Joe and I moved from the 5x10s into the computer. So we typed every part number,
Yes, we did.
all the sales history.
Not only
everything
that,
into-
but we ran all the wires for the computers
Yes.
through the walls and through the ceilings
Yes,
and
we did.
everything. Drilled holes in the walls. And
I love it.
We love this building with, something that we'll never forget is this building.
It was like a piece of you in a way, right?
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah. So is it bittersweet or not? I mean, seriously. I mean,
Actually, Joe's given me several tours over the last couple months when I stop in over here, since I'm working out of a different
Right,
store right now.
right.
But when he showed me the old parts room and there wasn't anything in it, that hit kind of hard.
I bet it did. When they brought a forklift in to start moving some of those things, I said, that's the first time a forklift's been in there since probably 1976.
yeah.
If
Wow.
then,
Yeah,
it was
if then.
probably all manual labor back then instead.
Probably.
So,
Right.
we talked about the expansion of the parts warehouse that they built in '88, and Tom and I remember I ran the forklift and he told me where he wanted stuff, and we moved all the stuff out of the way for the footprint of the new building. That was a big deal to us back then when we expanded that far. So
Right.
to see the expansion today is just amazing compared to where we were years ago. I can't wait to see just, what it does once it's fully functional.
Yeah.
And we have customers that come in that have been legacy, lifelong customers, generational customers that still call the place Harry's. They come in and their wife will call them on their cell phone or something, and they'll say, "Yep, I'm up at Harry's getting parts."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's been through Harry Van Deelen Company, Lichty Farm Equipment, Kenfeld Group, and Truland. And for a lot of people, this is still Harry's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important to call out. That's the same way for me at the Coldwater store. I mean, even my family, that's our home dealership. They go, oh, Grandpa will say, how's it working at Layfeld's?
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was Layfeld Implement.
Right.
I mean, we have little keychains still kicking around the farm that say Layfeld Implement
Right.
on it. So I think that's really important to call out that it's not, it's a new building, but it's the same.
It's the same people,
Same
same
people.
customers,
Yeah.
and
Same
again,
customers.
we have a lot of legacy companies as part of Truland Equipment too. There's a story, as we said last time. There's a story with every store, that we have. So I think it's cool, to hear that perspective too from Scott again. Just sometimes progress is painful, right?
It really is.
It is.
Yes,
Well,
it is.
I mean, it has to be. I think almost to get yourself outside of your comfort zone, because to stay in the same building is comfortable, but to make a new building is uncomfortable.
Yeah. But and again, when you guys have had 35 years or whatever, however many years, as part of a business, it's part of you is in this business, right? Part of your heart is in this business.
Sure.
But
Absolutely.
But it goes beyond, it goes beyond you, right? It's about the next generation and the legacy you guys leave. So, and again, with the changes we've had in this business since how far have we gone today?
But we went back to 1915.
Yeah, 1915.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive. So there were a lot of changes along the way. So
And this expansion's been pretty incredible. Everything from, I wasn't here I was still at the different location when they came up with the original floor plan, but all of a sudden the decisions have to be made. Myself and Lisa, our parts manager, it was, what color walls do you want? What kind of window sills do you want? What kind of windows do you want? What do they look like? What kind of bathroom fixtures? What kind of countertops?
Yeah,
And I was relatively unprepared for that.
right.
Those napkin plans where you're trying to sketch some of that stuff out. Were in the past, you
In
were
the
at the point
details.
where now you need to get down into the nitty gritty.
You got to finish it out.
You got to
right?
finish it
Yeah.
out.
right.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about the parts department with you and our first guest, Joe, when we talked about serving the service department.
Yeah.
And either one of you guys, give me kind of your perspective on the customer, dealing with the customer now, and I know it's not quite done yet, but what do we expect to improve from the customer standpoint in terms of our parts department and flow and things like that?
Well, we went from one our parts counter was 17 feet wide before, and we're going to two 20-foot parts counters now.
Major increase.
Major
Counter space.
improvement there. So we'll have 6 workstations, 3 workstations per counter. We're going to have a handicap accessible counter for
Nice.
for anyone who's in a wheelchair, an ADA accessible.
Excellent.
So that's excellent. We have a coffee bar up there. We have no coffee maker yet, but we have a coffee bar and a sink up there in the showroom now. And so the customer experience should be great. And our showroom's going to be nearly triple the size it was. So we can finally have lawn and garden things inside, more displays inside, a larger steel display for the outdoor power equipment. It's going to be a very, very nice customer experience coming in.
Nice exhibits, nice space, and obviously counter space to serve them better and more efficiently.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think about that,
I was
Scott?
going to say, Scott was kind of shaking his
He's gonna
head.
get emotional
just
about it.
Probably in
It is,
disbelief.
it's amazing to see, how big the parts department's going to be, and the customer service area will be fantastic. I mean, I go back to the day when Joe and I ran that parts department by ourselves. It was
Right,
just him
right.
and I for a period of time.
Every Saturday.
And we ran our tails off to keep up with what we had for business back then. I can't imagine what it would be like today
Right.
to run through just what Joe and I did in 1994 or 5, somewhere in that area. Neither one of us would have a hair left on our head. I'm
Well,
sure
we
would
went
have pulled it out.
from 2 parts counterman back then to 9 or 10 now.
Yeah. Well, that was only 30 years ago, guys.
Right.
Yeah, that's longer than I've been around, Josh.
Right. So it really a necessity to really get current, right? I mean, is what we're doing here. And I love it. I'll say it again. It's a good sign when you have to expand, right? And have
We
to
were
add
pretty
shop
fast at
space.
the microfiche back then.
Oh, we were good.
Yes, we were.
Yeah. Then you had to start hunting and pecking in the computer, right?
Right.
I have to toot my own horn just a little bit, because when I walk through the parts department at the store I'm at now, they still pull me in and say, "Hey, help me find this."
Yeah.
And, it's just the years of experience.
Right.
You don't forget those part numbers.
No.
If anybody needs a plow bottom part,
You know
you need
where
my
it's
phone
at.
number.
Sure. Yeah. That's funny you say that, because we have this. It's this kind of the same situation at the Coldwater store. There's some individuals that are really good at finding those plow parts, and they go, "Yeah, you got to go ask Dave for plow parts, because
Right.
I don't know."
Yep.
Well, I'm old enough to remember when we did a lot of multiple plowing, so I
Right.
get that. Yeah. Yeah. Jackson, again, you're the baby in the room, right?
I know. We talked about it at Purdue University when I was there, and that was about it.
That's fantastic. Hey, plows have made a little resurgence in the last few years. Have you noticed that? So probably makes you feel, they have in my area.
Yeah, have they?
If someone walked in and wanted a frog or a deep suck point, most people would have no idea
No
what that is
clue.
anymore.
Frog, you're in the wrong store, right?
Right.
That's right.
No, that's good stuff. So no, that's great. Great, guys.
I was gonna
Give
say,
them a
I
chance.
wanted to kind of segue, because we have talked a little bit about sales, but we also have two. Well, Scott is currently salesman by trade. Joe also spent
Right. I'm
some
still
time
in sales also.
Is still in sales.
Yes.
So I guess if I want to kind of hit on the same things we've been hitting on, parts wise,
Sure.
service wise, but also sales wise, just to kind of go full circle in the dealership as far as from the sales perspective. What's the new store going to be like for the customer?
The new store is going to be nice. We have more room outside, and I guess maybe a different configuration for displaying equipment. Sales in general has changed drastically too. There's some people that say John Deere is a technology company that also sells equipment. And so as part of the sales, we rely heavily on IS people that keep up with this technology, because as individual salespeople, it's very, very difficult. We've got to be a mile wide and an inch deep,
Sure.
where they can be a mile deep on that IS, on the integrated solutions side of things. And we rely on them very, very heavily for help on the technology end.
Yeah.
But equipment's equipment. When you have equipment, combines and tractors that are north of $1 million, it's a big deal, and it's a big deal for the customers, and trying to give them a value proposition for something that's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars it's a hard thing to do.
And so, Joe, you just hit on the technology side of it too in sales, and we can kind of mingle those together, because Scott is also, he was parts, but then also did some some AMS work, right?
So in my career, I started in the parts department like we talked, but when I came back to the store, I went into sales for a very, very short time, and then went right into integrated solutions. Spent 10 years in the integrated solutions department, and then at that point went back into sales full time. What a blessing that knowledge and that experience was because of the technology rush that we've had. If you look over the years that Joe and I have both been with the stores, I mean, we started 40/20s.
Yeah.
The 30/40
44
series.
30s.
Right.
44
Right.
That track
Those were the
was-
main things. And, and
Oh, yeah.
very, very little technology whatsoever.
7,000 planners.
When people came to the parts counter in the spring, we could almost guarantee they had a 7,000 6-row planner.
Sure.
And if somebody had a 12-row planner, they were a big operator.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Scott, what was it like? Just because I'm curious, because Josh and I are IS, AMS, right?
Correct.
What was the big thing when you were dealing with the IS department?
Oh, when I first started, it was the brown box monitors, the
AutoSteer,
original
right?
Green Star
Yeah,
monitors.
right.
And again, if you've got a question about one of those, I can probably help.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna
then
say,
Scott got to climb the towers to put the initial RTK network
Yes,
up.
I did help build the RTK network that we're probably going to.
bitter. Is it bittersweet because we're tearing them down, or is it
I'm
victorious?
just saying
that we're
one
tearing
thing
them
is
down?
I am not tearing it down.
So you go back to yield monitors and mapping processors, right?
Absolutely.
And
Oh, yeah.
The beginning of AutoSteer and things like that. So
I still remember the first test I had to take to become certified so that we as a dealership, when it was still Harry Van Deelen Company, so that we could even sell it.
right.
Crazy.
And I came out of that class and I said to Tom, nobody's going to buy that stuff.
Yeah, remember
I've heard that before too.
when
Yeah.
parallel tracking first started? It was called parallel
Nobody's-
tracking,
yeah,
and we thought to ourselves, who would ever do this?
Yeah.
Maybe some vegetable farmers that can fit a couple extra rows in a field on a high value crop because the rows are straighter. We had no idea that 5 or 10 years later that would be just mainstream for everyone.
It's base, and I've heard that. I've heard other guys say that too. Nobody's going to buy this, and it's a fun story because the reality is now our customers they can't function when it doesn't work.
Oh,
Yeah.
they'll park it. They'll park the machine.
They'll
We
park
forgot
it
how to
and
drive
wait.
steering wheels. We joke with them. We joke with
I
customers
do,
about that
yeah.
all the time
Yep.
and tease them about it. But no, that's a cool perspective. I think it relates again to progress, right? And you talk about the customers and the technology, but you got to have your support staff and a support system to handle all that stuff.
A building to do it from, right?
Right.
The building means nothing without the right people in it.
That's right.
Oh, for sure.
That's right.
For sure.
But you need that support staff, and they're equipped obviously now, and equipped very well the way it looks in this facility, and not quite finished parts department that sounds like it's going to be expanded and
coming.
have a good showroom and be modernized. So definitely some good stuff going on. Like I said, it's better to be in the position to need it than to not need it.
Correct.
Parting thoughts? Anything else you want to get off your chest? And
Nope. I just want to say again, what a ride it's been. I can't wait to see where this company ends up, especially with a new building like this today. It's amazing to see how far we've come.
sounds like it was needed and well deserved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for the future. I think we've come a long way, but we have a long way to go. And now we have the facility to do it with. And I think we have the right people to do it with also.
I think
great.
I think that was really well put.
Yeah, great way to end it today.
I agree. Hey, thanks for taking time and
Thanks
being
a
on,
lot,
guys.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having
guys.
us.
Congratulations.